Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Zoom masterclass with a guest expert speaker hosted by the TLB Club. The TLB Club is a membership community designed to help entrepreneurs, small business owners level up with their brand voice, their sales, their marketing, to not feel overwhelmed, to have a safe place to ask questions, to get resources, to get tools, to connect with other small business owners on the same journey, and to get coaching, support, and inspiration. That's really what TLB Club is all about. And most of the people here are actually members of the club, so you know what it's all about. And glad to have you here. And we usually bring in a guest expert speaker. We share the replay with everybody. And this week's guest speaker, expert speaker, is me. So, which is I usually use my network, bring people in. But in the early days of TLB Club, I was doing a lot of the trainings on various things: branding, storytelling, thought leadership, TEDx speaking, vulnerability, vision, mission, values. I would talk sales, marketing. I talk about a lot of things because I've done a lot of things in my life. So that's kind of where it came from. But the way we start these off is usually we have a little bit of updates and check-ins with folks. So I'd like to open it up actually to any one of the members of TLB Club. If there's anything you'd like to share or promote or announce, it could be anything, article, newsletter, whatever it might be. You can do that in the chat, but you can also announce it here by unmiking. So I'd love to, I say unmiking, that's the wrong phrase. It's unmuting. Unmiking is incorrect. I've been saying that wrong all this time. It makes no sense.
Yeah, what do you need? I can listen to you. What are you asking? I'll just answer with some things I need.
Okay. So who would like to share anything? Members?
Hey,
Dor-
Bobby is.
Doris, go ahead, and then we'll.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, put on the promotion. Academy Government Military Coaching is doing a free personal branding on July 7th and July 14th. We have a good crowd for the 7th, but we're looking to boost the 14th. So if you could spread it with your network, we would appreciate it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. John, go ahead.
Sorry, I should raise my hand like in school, but I'm a heathen. I apologize. So you guys, I think I talked about how I was running that summit maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it just wrapped up last week, and it was 4 days, 40 speakers, and I am just thankful it's over. But we had over 450 paid attendees, and I think a third of those upgraded to the VIP. And sponsors are super happy, and we're already being asked when's the next one. And I wasn't planning on doing it until next year and doing it, annually, but I might be doing it in the fall. So it's anyone that does summits or speaking, anything, it's stressful. And if it's stressful for one or two people, imagine 35, 40 speakers. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel you on that. I ran a conference for many years, and at its ultimate pinnacle, it was a day and a half with 60 speakers, and it was live in person. But once a year, and people are like, hey, you do anything in the spring? I'm like, no, it's still a lot of work. But twice if you have the resource and the team, you can do it twice a year. But congrats on that. Good job.
Thanks.
Let's go to Lynn. Go ahead, Lynn.
Hey, I just got back from Florida and I'm leaving on Saturday for Detroit, driving out there for my little road trip to do the Michigan Summit for the Self-Employed panel with Brenda Meller and a whole bunch of other people. So we're doing a raffle for the American Cancer Society. 100% of the proceeds will go to the American Cancer Society. So I will pop that in the chat once I locate it. This is my first day back in the office, and I'm in tomorrow, and then I leave again. So there you go. If you want to donate anything, you will get a little love and shout out from, Brenda Meller and me and maybe the other panelists and whatnot.
Hey, awesome. Thank you. All right. Anyone else want to share anything? Well, while everyone else is thinking, I'll share one thing, which is, I've been talking a lot about in the last month or two with some of you about new plans that I'm doing. So one of the things I'm doing now is Substack. I saw two separate presentations about the benefits and how it compares to other things that you're doing with emails, newsletters, and whatnot. I just saw one today, another one, and I also saw an email from Justin Welsh, and all those convinced me that Substack's the way to go. So my plan is to transition my entire email list, about 8 to 9,000, into Substack and doing a big launch in August. There will be tiers to it, of which the second tier will be actually join TLB Club. So what that means is they'll get access to that content and they'll get access to TLB Club. And that's one way for me to promote TLB Club. I mean, the ways I promote TLB Club is bring people to Zoom calls, but also, members can promote people and get referrals but I'm also going to be using that for the email launch. So I'm kind of excited about that. So that's really cool. And I am actually going to meet Brenda Miller and a bunch of folks if I can get across the border, going to Detroit. My wife's nervous, doesn't want me to go, and she also doesn't want to go herself. So I'm dropping her off in Sarnia, Ontario to visit a friend, and I'm going to go across the border. And I'm not that nervous, to be honest, but everyone else made me more nervous just by talking to them. But I am going to see Brenda Miller, and I'm going to meet Kenneth Lang. I'm going to meet I'll meet Christopher Johnson, who's a TLB Club member. First time ever meeting him. I'll see Amalia. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's really cool. Let's go to some of the people who are visiting here. Nisha, would you please introduce yourself to everybody and pitch a bit about who you are and what you do?
All right. So hi, everyone. So who I am a leadership and wealth coach. I have not yet stepped into the speaking space, but hopefully I plan to, or I intend to. What I do is I coach leadership, not just for leaders in name, but leaders in action, leaders at heart. And so goes well beyond corporate leadership. This goes into each person's individual leadership, whether that be at home or at schools or community or activism, whatever it might be, nonprofits, you name it, it's there. And so my whole goal is help leaders become leaders at heart, where they open up the space to invite opposing views, which I think we are desperately in need of at this point. And the other piece is I also do wealth coaching, where I help women in transition most of the times build their financial sovereignty and wealth sovereignty from their mind space perspective. So that's what I do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's also
Thank
hear
you.
from Anna Fernando. Please introduce yourself.
Hi guys. I don't know if you're gonna hear me. Can you hear me?
It's very low, your volume, but
Yeah, I'm kind of from the jungle, so my conditions here are not the best. I'm just doing my best, really.
yeah, just go for it. Go for it, though.
Sorry.
That's good.
Yeah. So my name is Anna. Used to be working as a family physician in Ontario. And prior to that, I was a registered nurse in the critical care. And then I was working so much that I got sick. So at some point, I kind of got lost my mind, and I wanted to ended up in Sri Lanka, trying to find out the way back to myself. And I did, and I found the way back to myself through Buddhism studies. And I researched quite a lot, and I applied those studies to myself, and developed some interesting course. How we can address the burnout issues and mental health issues and addictions, which I also had myself. And I recovered completely without any treatment that they usually use in medicine. So basically, I'm trying to get that course out. I'm still stuck in Sri Lanka. And it's quite hot here, and it's past midnight. So, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And let's go now to Jamie with a quick introduction.
Hello, my name is Jamie Trigadis. I help companies understand the data that they have to make better decisions. So if I put my LinkedIn out there on the chat, so let's talk.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And I see Lynn, your hand's still up. Did you want to say something else or add something else? No? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right. All right, let's get into the training today. So the topic today is 7 ways to build thought leadership. And I'm sure you probably are all doing things in the thought leadership space. I try to quiz people. I did a poll today on LinkedIn about, hey, what do you think they are? Which ones are there? But, I would love to start by asking you to put in the chat box, uh, what are some of these thought leadership building strategy or tactics you are currently using? Put them in the chat box. I want to see what you guys have. Like, what do you think they are, and what are you doing? You're trying to build your thought leadership, trying to build your brand. What are you doing out there? What are you doing? This is the interactive portion of my session. Okay, here we go. Networking. Okay. Tim for the first one. Anyone else? Posting content, commenting, posting content on social media, podcast or networking. Okay. What else? LinkedIn. Okay. LinkedIn, speaking and writing. Okay. Good. Okay. Anything else? All right. Content creation, events, networking, speaking. Okay. Lots of different things. Great. So I'm going to share some slides. Educational carousel, newsletter, strategic comment on LinkedIn. Okay, good. I love this. All right. So I'm going to share some slides now, and we'll kind of go through, kind of what I want to share with you guys today. Okay. Bloop. And all right. So hopefully you all can see this. All right. So 7 ways to build the best thought leadership. Which is the best? Well, thought leadership is everywhere, right? It's in your LinkedIn profile. It could be in your website. It could be in your digital signature. You message people. You may have a podcast. You may have videos. There's things you're doing to build your thought leadership. For those who don't know me a little bit about me, I'm a speaker trainer, 1,000 keynotes across 4 continents the last 20 years. I was an Inc. magazine top 1 leadership speaker, 5-time TEDx speaker, LinkedIn top voice, digital influencer, author, awards, parenting, values, all this kind of stuff. So there's lots about me. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm definitely a big believer in thought leadership. I have built thought leadership for myself, and I love talking about it. And that's one of the reasons why we started a TLB Club, which is Thought Leadership Branding Club. So let's talk about the key to the piece here is what we call digital thought leadership. But it's also in-person thought leadership too. So when it comes to thought leadership, right? I mean, the starting point I always say to people is like, look, if you look at these people here, these are 8 very different people, but they're all thought leaders in different spaces. Now, you probably may have heard of some of them, but the question then becomes, who are these people and what are they thought leaders about? So if you're to name one of these people and tell me what they're thought leaders on, like what area of expertise, put that in the chat. So for example, I'll help you out here. Warren Buffett is a thought leader in financial investing, right? Okay. Can you name anybody else here?
Bobby, I'm not sure of her last name right off the bat, but Malalia over here on the left is a social advocate, and she is a thought leader on women and their rights and their voice.
Yes, that is correct. So Malala Yousafzai is all about educating young girls. That's a big thing she's focused on. Okay, you got Steve Jobs, computing, Gary Vee, Steve Jobs for design. Yeah, so one part is we know who they are. The other part is, what are they known for, right? What do you think they are thought leaders in? Because maybe it's not what we think it should be, or maybe you have it wrong, or maybe we have a different idea. I mean, but they all have different things, right? So these are all thought leaders. Now, how do you build thought leadership? Well, basically, when it comes for building thought leadership, there's 3 main criteria or steps. Number 1 is learning to network authentically, build deep relationships, have tons of connections. This is what we call influence. So Oprah Winfrey has her best friend, Gail. She has her close friends and acquaintances, and she has followers. In each of those 3 levels, she has what we call influence. Now, you may know influencers out there who are not thought leaders. Why? Because they're missing number 2, which is creating and generating new ideas, innovation, and content. This is what we call subject matter expertise. Now, the truth is all of you are subject matter experts, but maybe you haven't built up enough influence. Maybe you only have like a couple friends who support you and come to your workshops. And so you have to build that influence. So there's some people with subject matter expertise, but haven't really built as much influence in it, or they don't know how to build that influence. And the third thing is mastering public speaking, active listening, communication skills. And this is what we call your brand voice. What are you doing out there to improve yourself, to be a better listener, a better speaker, a better communicator, and building the brand voice yourself? So, when you look at subject matter expertise, Warren Buffett's writing financial reports, Beyonce is writing songs, R&B and hip hop songs, Brené Brown is doing TED Talks. And then in terms of brand voice, they're all speaking. Malala's speaking on panels. Gary Vaynerchuk's doing all these videos on social media. Other people are doing different things that they're working on. But this is how you build thought leadership. So all of us typically are pretty good at one of these things. Maybe we're natural connectors. Maybe we're natural idea generators. Maybe we're just natural at speaking or listening. But the more you develop all three of these things, the more achievement impact you have as a thought leader. And why is this important to be thought leaders? Well, it's about authority, which is basically credibility, influence, and reach. And I also have a model that I use, which is the foundation of how I help everybody, small business owners, corporate execs, teams, as well as you on thought leadership. Now, most of you in the TLB club have seen this before, but I'm going to run through it. The foundation, mindset, and confidence. Almost all of us struggle with this at some point in our life, whether we're speaking, writing, content, selling, creating, branding, whatever it might be. And then you want to have a content strategy and some digital presence. You want to work on storytelling, speaking, communication, which also is part of what I do TEDx for. You want to build meaningful relationships. You also want to have personal branding that's clear and targeted. And if you have a strong personal brand, that'll feed back into better confidence because you know who you are and what you do. It has more meaningful and targeted content strategy and presence, better communication, and better relationships. And then most people I've worked with in my life have always struggled with these 5 main things, either one of them or all of them. But the more you build on these things, the better off you're going to be as a brand, as a thought leader, as a business. And then the other thing that happens is people still need more than that. They need the knowledge and strategies, because if you don't know how to build meaningful relationships, you need the knowledge how to do so. If you don't know how to work on your mindset or confidence, you have to have the strategy to do so. Similarly, you all need community and coaching. Coaching for help someone to soundboard for you, to help you 10x your results, to champion you and help you elevate yourself, keep you focused and aligned. Community for kind of the same thing, crowdsourcing, innovation, support, but as well as accountability. And then once you have clarity in who you are and what you're doing, and once you have greater confidence in what you're doing and you're doing it consistently, then your thought leadership brand will level up. This is the model that I use, and every single person I've ever worked with, of the thousands I've worked with, they're usually missing one of these things. Because what happens is you can be consistent, but if you don't have a clear brand, it's going to do less, right? You can have confidence, but if you're not clear on what your message is, it's going to go all over the place. So for every single one of you, there's always something here that might strike you that, you know what, this is the piece I need to work on. This is the piece that I think could be better. So I want you to think about that, because everyone I worked with it's one of these things. Now, what if I haven't done any thought leadership brand building? Well, then, this quote, I love this quote, you have to be different, greater first. So the truth is, even if you're not first, don't worry, you can still be different, you can still be great, you just got to do the work, right? So I want to take you through how to 10x your brand profile and thought leadership, okay? And what I'm going to do is start with the first one, networking. And, networking essentially is, we're doing it right now. We are networking. We're relationship building. All of us have started organically building relationships. The moment you were hanging out with your parents in your home, you went to kindergarten, went to the playground, and you made friends, or maybe you got picked on. I don't know. But the truth is, we're relationship building, and organically, we're either good or we're not, or we're trying to figure it out as we go along. And then what happens is, at a certain point, whether it's in high school or college or your first job, you realize, you know what? I need to be more thoughtfully networking. I need to be more strategically networking, as opposed to just, waiting for things to happen. And just, I was always the nice guy, building those relationships, talking to people, having lots of laughs. People like Bobby. He's fun, Bobby, right? Bobby Boogie, great. But I wasn't really targeted and strategic with my networking until much later. I was like, oh, you know what? I need to really focus. I had lots of people, great, but what was I doing to be more strategic about what I wanted to do? And so this is the one that is really important, because you could argue it's the best one, because at the end of the day, every single thing you do in life, personal and professional and in business, is about people and relationships. So, you could argue this is the most important one because yes, you cannot sustain or grow or create a very positive thought leadership brand without focusing on the relationship building, right? So this is one I think that people need to spend a lot of time on. If they're not, if they don't know how to do it, this is something they should learn how to do or at least understand because now networking and relationship building is everywhere. Like it could be a live event, it could be here in the Zoom call, it could be on that webinar, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be virtual, it could be at a party. I once got a job talking to somebody backstage at a musical because I was in the musical and she was the technical director. And next thing you know, she got me a job because she worked for HR for a big company called Unilever. Because you never know, right? So this is a really, really important one. Now I'd like to ask you if you want to unmute. I keep saying unmute. Um, what do you find the hardest about networking or relationship building in general? Does anyone have anything that they would find challenging about this? I want to make it interactive and discussion based. So, like, Melanie, go ahead.
I was just going to encourage people. This is where you
Okay,
speak.
thank you. Well,
But
look, we're not all perfect. I'm not even perfect. I mean, I'm
no,
perfect. I have issues too.
feel free to speak, people. It's okay. I think it's that it's not. Well, I mean, I'm an introvert, so for me, like having networking, sometimes I go to my introvert self, so it is hard for me to connect with people. Um, and put myself out there the first. And if you're an extrovert, you don't know what that actually may feel like, but it's the worst feeling in the world. So like I have to literally, even if it's an online thing, I sometimes have to like really pump myself up because I will not, if I'm not engaged with the people, I will literally detract. I will go back into the shell. I will become 5-year-old Melanie that is, super duper shy and does not want to talk to anybody. So I think that's a personal, and I know there's a couple of introverts lying around here somewhere based on nobody else speaking. So apparently a lot. That's just pressure everyone to talk.
Well, I mean, and the opposite of that is that someone like myself was a flaming extrovert.
Yes.
How do I screw up networking when I make a joke and it bombs, right? I say something stupid. I've known to do a couple of doozies in my lifetime, and that happens, right? Or what if I talk too much, I'm not really focused on what I'm thinking. For me, like I think the biggest challenge for me from a networking standpoint, even though I've written books on it and I've developed programs on it, is dealing with conflict and being a people pleaser, right? Because I'm a people pleaser, because conflict is hard for me. I don't like when people don't like me. Why don't you like me? I don't get it. And I've got to deal with this stuff. And that can get kind of hard, right? Dana, what were you going to say?
I was going to say for me, it's a little bit of a combination of like the breadth of meeting new people and kind of going to networking events and things like that versus the depth of like making the time to really get to know somebody because just meeting people isn't kind of enough. It's like you want to actually create relationships. And so finding the time and the balance, I think, for those two things, for me can be challenging.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So, like, how does networking build your profound thought leadership? Well, if you have a large Rolodex, you have a large CRM, you have a database, all these people that know you, like you, and trust you, that's called influence. So that can help, but that's not the only thing, right? There's a second part, which is subject matter expertise. The more you talk to people and the more you deep dive into knowing them and who they are and things like that, you start to know each other's subject matter expertise, right? So when people come to me, like, I've built a relationship with, for example, Melanie. I've known her for several years now. We built a long relationship. If someone comes to me looking for an expertise that I know she can help with, I will direct them to her right away. That's also how thought leadership is built, right? So there's that subject matter expertise piece as well. So that's why relationship building is so crucial for this. And every aspect of the other is going to be the other aspects of the other aspects of thought leadership building, which I'm going to go through. You're going to see actually they're all related, and people skills and relationship building are all interrelated. Steve, go ahead.
Well, I'll own up to being one of those introverts that Melanie was talking about. But I just wanted to comment that Networking, I think it's a little bit like there's more to network than meeting people. It's kind of like having a strategy and not doing any implementation. Just because you go meet a bunch of people, that's interesting, but it's not very valuable unless you actually do something to create a deeper relationship, to expose your subject matter expertise or your warm personality or whatever. You have to go beyond shaking hands, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just a comment.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about that is like, I use the word networking because it covers a lot of things. It covers digital networking, in-person networking, things like that. But the true word here is cultivating meaningful relationships. That's really what we're talking about here. So if you get thrown off by the word networking, oh my God, I have to go networking, man, I'm stressed out. We're just talking about cultivating meaningful relationships. That's what we're talking about. So this is a very, very important one on how to build thought leadership. Okay. Now let's go to the second one. Content strategy. So what that is essentially is you're putting content out there and you put content out there. It could be on LinkedIn, you do a poll, you do a post, you share a video on TikTok, you share a Facebook post about your July 4th barbecue and all the food you're going to eat, whatever it is. You share content because content basically lets people know what you're up to. It shows people who you are and what you care about. It demonstrates your expertise. It starts conversations. And again, content is a way to build. Now there's different aspects of content strategy. So I'll give you an example of one that was kind of passive, introverted, but then it blew up. So you saw Seth Godin. Anyone know who Seth Godin is? So does anyone know how he became famous? What did he do? So he had a newsletter. So he started an email newsletter, and they were very notably short. Very short. Yeah, the blog, exactly. Thanks, Natalie. A blog that he would email to people, and it's very, very short and sweet, but really biting, cutting edge type thoughts. And that email subscriber list grew to 2.5 million with an 85% plus open rate. And so it can be quite powerful. Now, content is not just email newsletters. It could also be you creating content, like someone said LinkedIn. Great. It also could be you commenting on someone's post, because commenting is also content. But at the end of the day, it's a way for you to start a conversation, build that connection, but most importantly, from a thought leadership perspective, demonstrate your subject matter expertise. Right now, the hard part is it's a long-term play, right? I mean, like everyone knows, I've built up a huge profile, 500,000 followers on Twitter and LinkedIn Top Voice and 70,000 followers here and 40,000 on Instagram, blah, 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 right? But it didn't happen overnight. It took a long time. Like, my first 100,000 on TikTok was about a year and a half. And then in 3 years, I grew it to 500,000. On LinkedIn, this is something I've been doing for a long time, although I didn't purposely grow it until 2017 to where I am now. And I didn't get LinkedIn Top Voice until just 2024. So, it's like, it's a long-term play. But, sometimes you can get something that takes off. Is there anything here from a content strategy perspective that people struggle with? I'd like to hear kind of what your challenges here are. I mean, the biggest challenge, of course, is can you be everywhere? I mean, obviously that's not possible, or it can be eventually be a lot of enough money in automations, but being everywhere sure is a big challenge. But Lorelai, what were we going to say?
Well, we were talking about this the other day. I have so much to talk about to narrow it down
Yeah.
and get the right message, especially when you're in transition.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, I certainly, I've had multiple things that I've been expert on. I've had to adjust that over the years. Anyone else have any other challenges with content strategy to build thought leadership?
Well, the obvious one is just the time that it takes to do it.
Right. Yeah. It does take way longer. And, the truth is you don't have to be everywhere. And I say this because I know I have a friend who is a thought leader on Pinterest. That's all she does. She has 4 million subscribers or followers, and from that has built a business, right? I see that content gets lost too easily on LinkedIn. Well, content gets lost everywhere. That that's why whenever there's a shiny new social media platform that's taken off, a lot of people you run with it, right? That's how I ran with Clubhouse, right? So certainly that's a challenge, right? So that's why we talked about the different aspects of thought leadership in terms of clarity, consistency, targeting, branding, all that stuff makes a big difference. Okay, good. Any other ones? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Speaking. So speaking is actually, I would say one of my favorite ones, and that's kind of why, because I was a speaker for 20 years. And so for me, but again, speaking is everywhere. You speak at the networking event. You speak sometimes in your content. You can speak on a panel in an industry event. You can speak and deliver workshops and keynotes to deliver your subject matter expertise and also to influence people. You can speak to, with your video content, you share or do a live stream. You can speak on television or the radio, and that speaking will, go a long way to help you get noticed. Now, I think that speaking is one of the biggest amplified ways of doing this quickly because I'll share the story of one of my best friends. So one of my best friends is Natalia Juarez in Toronto, and for 5 years, I tried so hard to get her to just put stuff out there. Like she was always learning, and she was networking, which was great, but her content strategy was okay. But I was like, put more stuff out there. Like talk about you're so good at this, and she was always like, I'm learning, I'm reading this book, I'm taking this course. Like, you just get it out there. And then she finally started speaking out there, and she landed and when she started speaking, within a couple of months, she got noticed and got called in because her main thing is she's a breakup specialist. Again, very niche target, great, helping people break up effectively and amicably, ideally. That was a great target brand that she had. She got noticed, and then next thing you know, she got called to speak on Good Morning America after Valentine's Day, and talked about how to break up because most people break up after on Valentine's Day or right after or before. So she talked about that. And what happened? She blew up, and now she has a six-figure business coaching people on stuff. So speaking goes a long way as an amplifier, and that's why for me it's when I start speaking, it certainly helped my business, and that's why it's a big thing for me. Now, again, I'll go back to you guys. And how does it build thought leadership? Well, speaking has much greater awareness building. It has much greater influence building, and also influence is part of what we call the know, like, and trust factor. So when you speak and they see you on the video or live in person, you're more likely to build that trust quickly than them, say, reading your blog or seeing something else. So that's why speaking is so powerful. I'd love to hear from you guys. What would you say are some of your biggest challenges with leveraging speaking and speaking as using like the first two are the most popular things everyone's doing. Okay. Speaking is a little bit more advanced. Not everyone does it. But so tell me, what would you say are your challenges for doing more or using speaking as a tool to build your thought leadership? John, go ahead.
I know for me, I can, that's why I said they call me an ambivert because
Yeah.
I'm like an extrovert, like on camera and at my computer and stuff like that for like webinars and podcasts. But in like actual conferences and summits and stuff in person, I get very introverted. I get very like anxious. I start to like sweat and everyone's looking at me. And what if I stumble on a word and stuff like that? So for me, the more I actually do it, even in like a smaller setting, I get over it, but it's still, I don't know who to look at. I don't know like to look at the screen if I'm presenting. I'm one of the guys where I stand still at the podium and other people are walking around up and down, and I can't do that because in my head I'm like, where am I walking to? Why am I doing this? Where do I put my hands? And there was a recent one that I went to, it was a smaller one for like a lot of Jewish Orthodox sellers here in the tri-state area, and it was only about 90 people, but I didn't realize how bad I did these kind of things until afterwards. There was pictures from the event, and I'm looking and I'm like, my posture, I'm not standing straight, and I have my hands in my pockets. So like things like that, where it's like, I'll put a picture in the chat of a picture that someone took of me at the event, because it was just like, why do I have my hands in my pocket? Like, it looks bad. So like, I just get too much in my head when it comes to these kind of things. And that's why I steer clear of, I've turned down lots of invitations to go speak because of just anxiety.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. And let me share a couple things. So number one, um, even though I've spoken 1,000 times across the world, I still get nervous when I'm speaking because it means I care, even though I'm a flaming extrovert. So that's one thing. The second thing is having both done speeches as well as being a musical theater performer for many, many years on stage. I've done a musical theater performance, singing, I've done improv comedy. Every single time I look at myself in video, I really have an issue with it. I don't. What am I doing with my arm there? Why is my arm like that? Like, so I feel that way too. And I think that certainly gets to be a challenge. The one tip I can give you is that the key is to focus on being a teacher, to reframe the fact that you're trying to help people. And then most importantly, you have to find your own speaking voice and energy. Every single one of you has your own energy and style in which you speak. I have this PDF, maybe I can give it to the TLB Club members. It's the 7 different styles of speaking. So which one are you, right? And so my style is Yoda, the wise old, articulate, eloquent dude, right? That's kind of what I am. But it's important to know what your style is, because when you do that, then you know how to prepare, right? So for example, there's a great TEDx talk by Susan Cain on introversion. If you watch that TEDx talk, you'll see that introverts would prepare for speaking in a different way than I would. Steve Jobs was a notable introvert, and he would spend hours being by himself preparing so that he would be able to present and use that energy in the best way possible. Whereas me, I am more a dynamic, move around the stage like John was talking about, and that's kind of what I do. I use humor, I use vulnerability, and I use my energy, my voice. So it's important to understand kind of what style works for you. But most importantly, introverts have the power of preparation and reflection and thoughtfulness. And so you take those superpowers to then plan and prepare for how you want to speak. Does that make sense?
No, totally.
Awesome. Sorry, Anna, go ahead. You're muted, actually. Are you able to speak now?
Yes, I hopefully you can hear me. Can you?
It's very low, but go ahead. Go ahead. I'll see if I can hear you.
Sorry. What I was trying to say is that if you can forget about yourself, if you concentrate on the subject, I think once you dissolve yourself in that process, then speaking becomes easier, or anything else that you do.
Yes, I agree. And I always like to tell a story about how the first time I danced with a girl was absolutely god awful awkward. The second time was painstakingly numb. The third time was not that fun. The fourth time was okay. And by the time I got to the 10th time dance with a girl, I was okay. So, that for me, that was the hardest thing one of the hardest things I ever did. All right. Third one, number 4, a book launch. Now, let me be more clear about what I mean by that. So you launch a book, you launch a white paper, you launch an ebook, you launch some sort of physical book type thing that people will see or read. That's another way to build thought leadership, right? Because you have all your expertise in that book, and you launch, you try to get that in the hands of people so they'll read it and be able to talk about it and things like that. This is a way for you to build subject matter expertise for sure, but also influence, because when I first started as a speaker, everyone kept saying, Bobby, where's your book? Where's your book? And it was hard to get speaking at the beginning. So then I was like, fine, I'll write a book. So I wrote a book on networking. And once I had that book, I leveraged that book to get speaking gigs, just the way I leveraged, TEDx talks. So launching a book. Now, the challenge with launching a book, of course, is that depending on how good you are, and some people do it really, really fast. But, for me, my first book, it was a really short 30-page book. But it took me like hours and hours and hours of planning with myself and my co-author to put that together. So it was very, very difficult for me. But and other people who launch the longer books, they take even longer, so it's harder. And then of course I had to get people to buy the book, and so that found to be a bit of a challenge for me. But Book launch is a great tool for building thought leadership expertise, and influence, and also sharing your brand voice out there. Anyone here have any questions on book launches, e-papers, white papers, all that kind of stuff? Now, again, this is another thing that not everybody does, but it's a good, everything here is an asset, right? Do we do all 7 of them? Not necessarily. Have I done all 7? Yes. But they're all assets. Each of them adds something. They layer on top that you have all these things. So, Bobby has 5 TEDx talks and he has 3 books. Okay. And someone else has 20 books and someone else has 3 programs. Someone else has a database of 10,000 people. Even the networking thing, I may have 750,000 followers on social media, but I would trade that in a minute for just 100 brand fire ambassador loyalist people who just love the heck out of me and are willing to pay for my work, will pay for my services. That's fine, right? So, it influence also, and it really goes a long way in terms of the individual people as well. Okay, number 5 is a program launch. Now, I put the program launch here because, so for example, program launch. So, you launch a program. Now, I launched a TEDx program. I previously launched a networking mastery program. I launched a speaker mastermind program. I launched a personal branding course. I've launched programs, all of my life. And the reason why programs are so great is because when you have a program and people take it and you have positive results and you get testimonials, that is thought leadership, right? Because if you've helped 100 clients achieve outcome X, then it's going to be easier to get people to want to work with you and trust you, right? So a program launch is also quite powerful too. And so now most of you don't have a program, but I think you should. It's not that hard to make a program. In fact, the easiest way to do it is, if you show up to any sort of event as a guest speaker 2 or 3 times, or let's say a podcast, whatever that might be, and you've shared some insights, you can turn the replay of that into a program. I didn't say it had to be a paid program. It could be like some people in the early days of my career, I had what was called the 7 days to confident speaking is what I called it. So basically I had like a little short video for like 3-minute video, and then they got an email, and then for 7 days, it was a free thing, but I did that for free. And then it was just me just talking, and they at the end of it, I invite them to book a call, and maybe I work with them as a coach, right? So now the challenge of the program launch is that, it takes a while to build the program, to sell the program, to get the testimonials, right? So, like I've been doing my TEDx program since January of 2024 when I launched it, right? And I've gotten testimonials. I just got a testimony the other day it was one of the best video testimonials I've ever had. So I'm so happy about it, which is great. So I'm going to leverage that for sure. But, it took a while to build some momentum around getting the testimonials. Because, and even my program, TEDx, that's a 3 to 6 month process on average, right? So it's a longer thing. But launching a program also is great for subject matter expertise, building influence, and building your brand voice and storytelling and things like that. Anybody have any questions or challenges around the program launch piece and how it builds thought leadership? Okay.
Bobby, could you just say a few more words about the program launch? How big does it have to be? Where do you do it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, great question. So the truth is with program launch, and so, we teach people in TLB Club how to launch a program. And we even have trainings where we taught you this. The truth is there's different levels of programs, right? So there's the free program. It's like the 3 5-minute videos, or the 3 half-hour, PowerPoint sessions. That's free. Then you have the longer one, which is okay. You can join my 10-part series on this or that. Then you have what's called the workshop, right? The workshop where it's maybe $100, $200, or maybe you have a 5-part series that's $100, $200. It's all about going up that sales ladder. Then you have the large. So I have a 5-day challenge, which is $100 for TEDx, right? And then you have more sophisticated ones where you have what we call masterminds, or you could have a large scale program with 6 months of coaching and content, whatever that might be. So there's a different level of kind of where you build it, but most people should have something that's free, something that's paid and something that's highly paid, right? But if you're going to start with something, start with start with the one that's kind of a low pay thing that people get into with you. So there's a proof of concept. They get to see who you are. They like what's going on. They're paying something, so they value it. Because when you start with just free stuff, the problem is most people come into free stuff. 90% of them are not your clients, or they're just looking for freebies. There's way too many people in the world just looking for free stuff, and they're not willing to even commit a small amount of money. And look, I'll be very frank. That was me the first 5 years of my business. I bartered, I traded, I never ever invested. And I tell you, the moment I invested in my first coach and I was paying $400 a month, and I thought like, oh my God, this is choking me. But the truth is, it made me want to do the work and get shit done. And the time I paid for that $200 course, I'm like, you know what? I need to be here. I need to figure this out. And so I was doing that. So people who pay it's better to have that. But essentially, you can design any type of program. What I would recommend you do is you design what you think it should be. I mean, think about where you're trying to take people. So for me, for example, you look at the A to Z of the journey of the stuff that you offer, right? And what do you want to focus on? So for me, the A to Z of speaking in the beginning, it's like confident speaking. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. I can't even speak in public at work. Now, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on PQRS, seasoned professionals who like to speak, who want to do a TEDx talk and amplify their brand. So I'm doing the PQRS part of that journey. But you think of A to Z of the journey of people who work with you, and then you decide where you want your program to fit. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Sorry, is there something wrong? All right. Okay, if you're not speaking, make sure you're muted. Okay, just want to make sure we don't get noise here. Okay, so that's the fifth one. Number 6, paid advertising. So, if you have a lot of bucks, you can put paid advertising. Now, who here has tried Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or any sort of ads? Nobody? A few times? Okay. How'd it work? Did it work well for you? No. Okay. I mean, look, the truth is, if you have a lot of money, you can do a lot of paid advertising that goes quite well for you, right? The truth is, and the one thing I'll tell people is like, look, just as much as we have organic traffic that has to have a clear target and brand message, all that kind of stuff, paid ads the same way. Like you could do a paid ad, but if you don't do it properly, then it's not going to go well for you. If you do it properly, you can build something. But again, it takes time and money. You have to I invested in a paid advertising program, and I gave up after like 3 to 4 months. Why? I guess I was just impatient, But they said no, you have to get data and repurpose it and change things and edit. And they set up this really sophisticated Facebook targeting campaign, and I was like, okay, but I was like, you know what? I've already paid enough money. I don't want this anymore, so I stopped. I gave it up. But other people, when they get it right and they do it right, it can be quite powerful. Facebook ads are probably the most common ones because it has the smallest, click-through budget, and you can target them quite well. So Facebook's quite good at that. But you can also do it in other ways too. Like the one big mistake I did make back in the day for paying for ads was I kept paying to boost content pieces, which is actually dumb. I mean, it's just an awareness builder, and it's not really about building business. If you're going to spend money on ads, it's got to be towards some sort of funnel that leads to business, right? So I often push you guys, what is your client acquisition strategy? So that's what it's got to be. It's got to be something around that. So if you have, let's say you're boosting, I'll make this up. One of the ones I did before was, hey, here's a personal brand audit. You boost that ad, people download the audit, they then get a series of emails, which leads to a call with me, and then I can sell them my programs. So you want to have something that's more specific around where it leads to them wanting to do business with you. That's where the advertising goes really. Now, people are really rich. They just, bomb you with ads, and they do that, and that's fine. They can do that too. But paid advertising does work. It can work. If you've got the money, great, or you can set aside a budget. But it does require consistency, proper targeting, and it does require an investment, right? So if you're thinking I'm going to do $20 a day on Facebook for 30 days, that's not really the way you want to do it, right? If anything, if you can commit to, let's say you can commit to $30 a day, and do that for 6 months, okay, then maybe there's something you can do with that. But that is 30 times 30 times 6. For all my mathletes, what is that? Exactly. It's $4,500. So if you're willing to commit $5,000 on ads, you could actually build something very sophisticated. But the problem is most of us as small business owners, we're too chicken to do that. We're too chicken to, try that out because you're also spending another couple of grand on the expert to do that with you. So that's 7,000, but you could do 7,000. You could actually build something really awesome, right? So paid advertising is a great way to build thought leadership. Anybody have any questions or comments on this? I know I'm going along here, but I'm enjoying the conversation. So, anybody have any comments on paid advertising? Okie dokie. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the last one. The last one is the TEDx talk, and I talk about TEDx talks, but the reason why I like TEDx talks is because it combines speaking, it combines content strategy, it combines networking, and to me, it's a great way, and it's something you can launch. Because when you launch a book, you have to get people to buy your book. When you launch a program, you have to get them to pay for your $500 program. When you launch a TEDx talk and you do well, it essentially can amplify because people are happy to pay, happy to share a free, TEDx talk or a snippet from that TEDx talk. So for me, TEDx talk to me is the ultimate way to build a thought leadership. And I'll say this very clearly to most people. TEDx has the shortest amount of time invested, about 20 to 40 hours, with the shortest timeline, less than 3 to 6 months, for the greatest amplification of your brand. So that's why I love it so much. So whether you're launching a book or a program or a content strategy or a network or whatever, or speaking, whatever you're doing, you can use a TEDx talk anytime in that process as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punch. That's going to help you build your brand. So that's kind of why I do TEDx. So these are the 7 different ones. And the question was, what's the best one? I'm going to say a TEDx talk. However, I will say that if you have to, be good at stuff and you want to, networking and speaking, building relationships is absolutely essential for anything. You can't do anything without it. And of course, learning how to speak more. Speaking includes your book launch. Speaking includes your program launch. Speaking includes everything. So becoming a better speaker communicator is an incredibly good investment too. And as I said before, when I did my first TEDx talk, my speaker fee jumped, my speaking gigs increased. I started traveling around the world, which was great. I want to just share, I know we're getting a little low on time here. I want to share 3 tactical steps for you in terms of, what do you do? Well, first off, you have to start where you are. You can't go from A to Z if you don't know where A is, or maybe you're at point D or F, I don't know, but figure out where you are so then you can put together a plan. That's why I always tell people, tell me where you are, tell me what your brand is, let's get a snapshot, let's come up with a plan. My friend String Nguyen, who's now a 4-time LinkedIn top voice and noted influencer, she just started putting videos out there, and next thing you know, she became known as the video person and became an influencer in that sense. Number 2, you have to leverage storytelling everywhere you go. So whether you're doing an ad, whether you're doing content strategy, whether you're doing speaking, the book, storytelling is essential, similar to the relationship building piece, on which storytelling breaks through the clutter. Storytelling influences people. Storytelling shares your subject matter expertise better. So investing in storytelling is an important piece too. And then the other thing I think about is people often say LinkedIn versus TikTok or IG or YouTube. Look, you gotta go where your audience is. You gotta work what works best with you. But most importantly, I think you have to have a tactical plan that specifically is multi-function, multi-platform. So if you are on LinkedIn or if you are on TikTok, you have to have an email list. That's why I'm doing a lot of work on building a Substack platform in the fall. But you have to have an email list. So you want to make sure you're, focus on your strengths. Like the person on the right, she's clearly loving video. She's getting a great work with it, and that works for her. But I would also encourage her to have an email list and maybe repurpose this content elsewhere. And of course, you leverage storytelling with your content. LinkedIn, I think, is a really, really good one. Storytelling is everywhere. You can create content. I think that's great. And the thing about building connections is that people want to do business with those that they trust. And that's why, all aspects of thought leadership are about building that connection. And that's why I also mentioned videos, right? The data, 70% people view videos in more positive light after watching them. Forrester research says that 1-minute video is worth 1.8 million words. So even if you're not a big video person, let's say you're not really into videos, I would invest in making one professional video that's 1 to 3 minutes long that shares who you are, what your story is, and how you help clients. So 1 minute, 90 seconds, and 3 minute videos. And you can repurpose them all you want. But to me, videos is incredibly important. And then, of course, the other tactical step is using AI tools to help you. You all know that, I use Opus Clip. I do live streams with various people, and that live stream this live stream I did turned into a 60-second clip that I posted across all the social medias. And it did it for me so quickly. It was amazing. It generated from an hour session about 30 clips, of which 2/3 were good. So 20 of them I used, and I post them across my socials. Did it again here. So lots of times this works out very, very well. There's other tools I use like Postwise. I use Postwise to create an AI ghostwriter for both LinkedIn and for Twitter. And I love this one. It creates LinkedIn posts as well as tweet threads for me. And so, so I did this input, right? And by just creating an input, I get this amazing thing that sounds like me and is very, very compelling. So you got to be able to, create that change you want by stepping forward and doing those things. And that's why, I'm here. That's why we're all here to do this. So in terms of, and one thing I want to mention is like, if you want the big change, it's the small steps over time, right? You have to put the time in and do it. I often say in TLB Club, if you move 10% each month, by the end of 12 months, you've actually increased by 3.7 times. There's another great meme where if you do 1% each day in 365 days, you've actually increased by 37 times, which is why my new newsletter and my new Substack thing is going to be called the 1% Brand Brilliance. It's called that. The other thing is, if you're an entrepreneur, like we struggle knowing our value, we struggle with time management, we struggle with targeting focus, we also struggle with coaching community, and we're lonely. So that's why, if you are here and you're not part of TLB Club, or you want to talk about TLB Club, I want to mention that TLB Club is what we're running here. This is a membership community. We offer these Zoom masterclasses for free for a couple of times. Then we say, hey, maybe you should join the club or try it out for a month for $39. And then if you don't like it after a month, you can leave. But lots of amazing people, a great library with classes. We're helping people with subject matter expertise. We're helping them with the personal brand. We're helping them with influence, building their brand voice. That's what TLB Club is all about. And I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but the benefits: access to me, access to the amazing people in the call, coaching calls, master classes, resources, tools, all the different things that you might like. And of course, we promote you. We promote you across different platforms, a carousel post, a welcome post, a get to know members post. And, when it comes to coaching, people like to work with me because I'm no fluff, straight to business, packed with value and insights. That's me, guys. If you know who I am and you know how I operate, because some of you are in my TEDx program too, so you know what that's all about, but that's kind of what I do. So final thoughts: you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You got to be willing to do the work. You got to be consistent. You got to be willing to share and allow me and other people in the community to help you. All right. So that's it for the 7 different tactics. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I'm happy to take questions or discuss anything you guys want, but thanks very much for being here. Anybody have any? I know I went right to the 5 o'clock time. I apologize. I will stay a little bit longer if you need to, but anybody have any questions or things they'd like to share or add to what we talked about?
Bobby, does Postwise work with audio as well as video?
Postwise, so Opus Clip is for video, not audio. So Opus Clip works for video. I haven't tried it for audio, but I mean, look, there are tools that can take audio and convert them into a video for you, like AI wise. You should come to one of our weekly tech clinics for TLB Club on Wednesdays, and we can talk about that and figure it out together, because I think it's a great idea. There's people here who are very tech heavy, but I know John actually did a thing on AI. And what did you share something where it takes audio and converts it into video? Do you remember that, John?
So you could do that in Google AI Studio. So
Right.
you can take text and make it audio, and then you can take text and make it video. So if you have like a transcript on something, you can put it in there and it can build out video. It maxes out at like 5-second intervals, and it's rate limited. So what a lot of people are doing is they're breaking their quote unquote video using AI and saying, hey, take this script or whatever it is, break it into 5-second increments. So then you can then use VO3 to generate that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay.
I'll just, so I've looked into branding, except I didn't want to write a $20,000 check. But there are people that sell branding. So I'm wondering, all the stuff you said is spot on, of course, but you still need to put a good wrapper on it, so to speak.
Yes.
Which I guess is what the branding people do. So I think that would be a key aspect of
Well, yeah.
your
So
strategy.
agreed. And look, this is you don't need $20,000 to put together a good brand. Okay, what you need to do to put together a good brand is number one, honesty. Number two, the right community and coach. And number three, putting the work in. So I often tell people when it comes to personal branding, like, are you willing to invest 100 hours of your time? Yes, 100 hours. Okay. Are you willing to invest 100 hours of your time for 500,000 hours of focus, joy, fulfillment, and impact? If you are, then do the work of personal branding, right? So, there are lots of ways to do that. And I'm here to also guide you too, but you have to be willing to do it. Like branding, when I work, so I'm working with people on their branding, whether they're in the TLB club or my TEDx master or even my own individual clients. And I'm not charging that much, to be honest, but that's why I have different ways they can engage me. But the branding piece, most people struggle to because they don't want to be honest about it. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want the honest feedback on things because, they don't want to be called out. Right? There's people and there's people right here in this room right now who don't want to be called out on anything. Me too. Right? Because it's like that person, like, if there's a couple having trouble in their marriage and one person doesn't want to go to counseling, it's because they know they're gonna be called out on their bullshit. They know this. That's why they don't want to go. So it's the same thing, but I can tell you, like, every single one of you, I can help you. Every single one of you, we can help you. In fact, we can help each other together. I know Lorelei is doing a whole new rebranding, but it starts with the brand thing on the page. Like, you can do the deeper work if you want. I have I have a personal brand program that's very detailed that can help you hone in on your brand, right? And what happened last year, 4 or 5 members of TLB Club say, hey, I offered to give them access to the training. Now, what happened? Nobody followed up. No one did the work. So nothing happened. Even though I was giving them this $5,000 program that I had for free because they're part of TLB Club. Now, I also realized that entrepreneurs get overwhelmed and it's too much information. So that's why we invented the brand plan on a page, which is what some of you have done. And I think, Nisha, did I show it to you in TEDx Mastery recently or no? Yeah, I showed that to you. Lorelei showed it to you. And basically it starts with, what is your business? Who is your target? What are your products and services? Once we know what those 3 things are, then we can start fixing the brand and getting clear on that. Because I'm going to ask questions like, okay, tell me a bit more of your target. Tell me a bit more of your customer avatar. What is the pain point they have? What is your why statement? What do they care about? What messaging would work with them? Because when we know all those things, and if you're like, I don't know, then you have to go find out before you can do the rest. You have to talk to people. You have to do interviews. You have to do surveys and bring that information in so and you build something. And then you start trying things out there and seeing what sticks and what's working, and you keep honing that brand. Because once you have a clear business target and clear customer offerings, then you develop what's called the client acquisition strategy, and then the content strategy and the funnel to build that thing. That's what you do. But everybody out there wants to skip steps, doesn't want to do the work. It's the same with branding, right? I often share the branding model where most people are in the design stage of branding. There's discover, design, and deliver. Everyone's in design. Everybody's designing their assets, their logos, their branding, the voice. They're doing the stuff without doing the discovery piece. But that's 80 of the 100 hours. Maybe 60 of the 100 hours, okay? Before you can design something. That's going to be awesome when you deliver it. Okay, but I appreciate what you're saying. I don't think, I don't think you have to pay $20,000 for anything. And I'm living proof. Not that I don't pay for stuff. I do. I paid up to 10 grand for things. 20,000, again, with the right person, you can do it for less. It depends what it is. It really depends what it is. But just for branding, I don't think you need that. I mean,
the point is that you still have to put a wrapper on your strategy. Well,
yeah,
you need a strategy. Yeah,
absolutely. And so,
yeah.
for me, like if I'm looking at anyone in your business, I'm always gonna like if you guys come to my coaching calls, I will say like oftentimes you show me stuff and you don't want to show me stuff. Some of you guys don't. Some of you do, some of you don't, because you're worried, or sometimes you don't show up. And hey, where you been for like 3 weeks? Oh, I don't want to be held accountable. I mean, when I did Weight Watchers and I didn't show up to the meetings, why? Because I had a shitty week, man, and I didn't want to show them that I gained 3 pounds. Right? I'm going to starve myself next week and show up the next week. That's not really the way you got to do it. Right? So, yeah, I mean, but the truth is, like, this is something I'm actually really good at. I can help you hone in on your message and get really, real clarity. There's certain ways to do it. One is having a really good why statement. The second piece is doing a really good customer avatar of who you are trying to target, to know what their interests are, what their demographics are, and what their pain points are, what their bliss points are, things like that. And then the third piece is to do surveys and test it out. And when you have those three things, you'll be able to come up with something really, really good and seamless that gets their attention. So I appreciate that point. Any other questions? Okay, well, listen, thank you so much for giving me your time. Tomorrow is 4th of July. Have a great 4th of July. Eat lots of hot dogs and hamburgers. I think that's what you do, right? And then you have fireworks. And listen, if you're in a TLB club, share your photos in the WhatsApp chat. I love the photos. So enjoy, guys. I'll be here at Canadian, cheer you guys on, and then I'm gonna cross the border on Sunday to show my support for my American friends. That's my gift, hopefully, and also my fear, but we'll see what happens. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
As Joey would say,
Thank
pasta
you.
pizza, baby.